spitting.
Just start yelling stuff.
Yeah.
We'll get professional. It's really fun to be able to write a show with your best friend and then make it with all of your friends. And we're really, really fortunate.
Especially when the show is about a bunch of friends.
Yeah, Skeleton Crew is about friends. It's by friends for friends.
Yeah.
It's starring friends. This is what it's gonna be like. This is as best as we can do.
Power of friendship.
This is gonna be a fun roundtable because I've known Ford since everyone calls him Ford. No one calls you Chris, right? Do you want to be called Chris in the roundtable?
No, that's weird. Just call me Ford.
Ford. We've known each other for such a long time. I've known you since I was 18. I've known you since I was 18. Known you since I was 18.
Yep.
And
We just met like an hour ago?
Yeah.
What was your name?
We all went to school together at NYU, and I'm just a fan of you.
Right back at you guys.
On the third Spider-Man, I was shooting with Jon Favreau. We were just talking, and I gave him the very, very quick pitch, and he was like, would you want me to like produce it? Like, is that cool? It would be like me and Dave Filoni. And I was like, yes, Jon Favreau, that would be great.
I remember when I was working on season 3 of Mandalorian and doing the previs, the third floor team who animates and creates all of the previs, they were working on the show, on Skeleton Crew. And I was like, oh my gosh, how is it? And they were like, it's so good. I was just like, oh God, it sounds so good. And so there was already like buzz on campus about it, you know?
It was a really easy yes. And you told me the elevator pitch of the show and then mentioned that Jude Law was going to be starring in it. And I feel like I had just left set like 5 minutes earlier, making a movie with Jude and a bunch of kids. And I was like, oh, this is going to be exceedingly comfortable.
Yeah, and that was almost weird because I don't think we knew that when we first thought of you, and then we thought like, oh, is he gonna want to just repeat what he had done?
You're gonna want to work with Jude Law again?
And it was like, duh.
And kids.
And pirates.
Yeah, the answer was yes.
Yeah, there's a very specific Venn diagram that's like Jude Law, pirates, kids, and then David Lowery is in the center of that. That's the guy you get.
Yeah.
I'm just their roommate from college, so it's sort of, it was more like...
No, you're very qualified, Jake, very qualified.
Yeah, Jake.
Maybe not that qualified, like it was more like...
Jake, that's legit not true.
Everyone keeps saying like I'm qualified a lot in a way that makes you feel like maybe I wasn't so qualified, but that's all right. It's fine. I just had to clean up after you guys at the end.
You have a particular set of skills.
Yes, exactly.
How did you get the Daniels to do this?
I know the Daniels through their DP, Larkin Seipel, who Jake has worked with. He shot all of Beef. And so we've all been friendly, and they're just like such amazing creative guys.
When we hired them, that was before Everything Everywhere came out. We knew they would be awesome. Just their whole aesthetic. It's just so original and amazing.
We wanted them, and we wanted Lee Isaac Chung. Minari is like the most moving story of like a little boy going into a new world that he doesn't understand, and that's basically a version of what this show is.
And Isaac, it was really cool because we got to work on season 3 of Mandalorian together, and so he was like one of the directors that had gotten the bug and was just like, yeah, I'll do another one.
Yeah. He had already understood the process, and that plus his ability to work with kids was just like made him so perfect.
You know, something that I noticed that was really kind of extraordinary is so often when you're doing anything as a director, you think about tone. Like that's a hugely important component, especially when you're a director who's coming in and directing an episode, you know, where there are creators and writers and showrunners who are also directing and all of that. And so you really need to kind of not create the tone yourself, you need to adopt the tone. And what was so cool is because you guys just come with a tone. Like that's just inherent. And it, I think, allowed for there to be so much cohesiveness in the storytelling because you all have such a shorthand. And I mean, I feel kind of included in this as well. Like I know what you guys do. I know the vibe. And it was just awesome to get to kind of step into that.
That's what's great about having Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni as your producers is because they're like the ultimate safety net. They give you sort of the freedom to follow whatever creative path you want to go down, and they'll let you know. It's like bumper bowling. They'll let you know if you're going too far one direction or the other. Yeah. People are always asking, what are the tonal inspirations for the show? And it's not like you and I have ever like consciously sat down and said, well...
Right, made a list.
Yeah, a list of like, it's gonna be a little bit of this Amblin Wonder magic with a hint of this. That's just like in our DNA. So we just talk about the story and then write it, and then I think find ourselves surprised at what we're referencing when we're writing.
Right.
It just
And-
comes out
yeah.
like,
Okay, but you have always loved pirates.
I have
Because
always
there
loved
was a
pirates.
sound project from freshman year where you guys are just doing all of the pirate voices.
Yeah.
It's like a pirate radio drama.
I love pirates.
So this is not coming
I've
from
always loved
nowhere. This
pirates.
is
It's fun to have a genre as an entry point
Yeah.
to help you sort of explore a different section
Yeah.
of the Star Wars world. And we went back and watched like old pirate serials from like the 20s and 30s, and that was a really fun entry point.
But just the stuff that you connect with as a kid.
As a kid, you want to go on an adventure. As a kid, I grew up in Colorado in the middle of nowhere, and we just go for walks out in these like fields with nothing around, and you're just hoping that you go on a kind of Amblin adventure. That's just what we grew up with, and that's the kind of adventure that we were always looking for as kids.
Yeah.
The Amblin reference is so a part of us because we were raised in that world.
There's that sense of wanting to go on an adventure as a kid, but I think anyone can remember that moment, like when you're a kid and you sort of expect that like maybe all adults will be safe and helpful, and then you realize that like adults are complicated and the world is not. And that's even in Goonies, it's this like realization that adults don't always have your best interest at heart or want to do things. I just thought there was something really, really resonant about that.
And there's a really interesting tonal balance. Like the thing that made those Amblin movies have that spirit was something that Kathy Kennedy would talk about. She would say they were grown-up films that just happened to star kids. So you'd make 4 10-year-old kids your main characters, but it's not a kid's show. It's not a kid's film. You're still making the stakes really real. You're still making it dangerous. You're combining that, childlike sense of wonder with a real dangerous world and a
Yeah,
Star Wars
yeah.
show that can sit next to all the other things in the Star Wars environment. Having Jude on set is like, Jude Law is so amazing. And he was like sort of the co-director and like in so many ways, because he's there with the kids in almost every scene, keeping them focused, running lines with them, making sure they hit their marks. Like he was just like, in addition to being like an incredible actor and wonderful man, like he also just helped us so much with the kids.
It's such a gift to have an actor like that who not only can just, give you that incredible performance, but also show the next generation of talent.
And just as an example, I just remember seeing him like in the cockpit, and he's holding the yoke, and he's looking, he's seeing all this stuff, and it's just a blue screen. And it's like he seemed more lost in his imagination than the kids. And they would look at that and be like, okay, I see. You really have to like really imagine really hard.
Yeah, he's like in a way, him in real life and his character are kind of like a grown-up version of all of the kids on the crew. And yeah, he brought like the grown-up side of that sense of wonder and imagination.
We'll make a partnership. But we have to move fast!
Another incredible thing about making the show is that when your main characters are 4 10-year-old kids, every day on set is like the greatest day in the world because they're so amazed at every single thing that's going on.
It's the best morale booster.
Yeah, like everyone has a great time because the kids are having a great time. They're seeing animatronics and puppets and just all kinds of crazy special effects. They're having so much fun. And our 4 kids were just such a fantastic little group. Like, I love them so much.
Yeah.
It reminds you of why you got into this business in the first place. So that like you're getting to pretend, you're getting to play, you're getting to invent and have so much fun doing it. And so often filmmaking can become a job, but it's not. And when you're working with children, it reminds you that this is all make-believe and it's so much fun.
Robbie was doing all the jobs. He would always do the clapperboard.
Marker.
Anytime anyone would let him, he wanted to do that. He wanted to call action and cut. He wanted to learn what all the jobs were.
He also started the trend of mustaches on set. Yeah.
Mustaches.
Yeah.
They all came dressed up as various crew members on Halloween.
Robbie came and dressed as
Robbie was dressed as
Jon
me.
Watts. He showed up with a Starbucks, and his earphones. Yeah.
Based on what the concept of the story was going to be, we knew they had to start in a more safe planet. It was an opportunity to, design a new thing. Like the kids' bikes was a really good place to start because I think when you're designing a speeder bike, it looks really cool.
Yeah. Like,
So
how do you make Wim's
we're-
bike be
we're-
kind
yeah,
of
we're
corny?
like, come back. We need to bring in more Huffy. And
Yeah, there's like little tassels on
and
it.
there's we put tassels on it, and there's tassels in space.
Are there tassels in space? These are the kinds of
There are
questions.
now.
And that was the crazy thing.
You'd always call Dave Filoni and be like, are there tassels
Yeah, can we
in
do
space?
that? And the scariest thing he would say is, Well, there are now.
Yeah.
I'm excited for people to see Skeleton Crew because it's the same Star Wars universe that you know and you love. It's just a new perspective. The ability to see that world through the eyes of 4 10-year-old kids, I think, is a completely new way to enter this world that some of us know and love, some of us maybe haven't ever really experienced before.
Yeah, we were just drawn to that idea of these kids stumbling into the larger galaxy and not understanding it all. That was just natural to us, but it turned out that it's a great way for people who don't know the universe to get introduced to it because they're along with the kids. Or if you know all about it, you know all the things the kids are getting wrong and messing up, which is funny and tense.
Yeah, it's fun to be able to make something that works if you don't know anything about Star Wars and also works if you know everything about Star Wars.
Yeah, and then those two people can finally be friends with each other.
Great job.